dirt-poor roots into the plastic of star car parts like horn buttons, gearshift knobs, and body enamel. Soy wouldn't, you know? Ford didn't stop there. He also developed a soy wool-like fabric that cost half of sheep's wool. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Sit down, strap in, and take off. No, you're not heading to the moon, but your trip just around the block could be just as wild a ride. When we come back, I'll tell you how to latch your kids in safely. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. American ethanol producers are fully engaged in the race to the next generation. Since the ethanol molecule is identical across sourcing types, many existing ethanol biorefineries are exploring bolt-on technologies that will enable production of ethanol from both grain starch and cellulosic material at the same facility. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Forget outer space. Experts believe that 80 to 90% of child safety seats right here on Earth are installed and or used incorrectly. The key to preventing young children from experiencing zero gravity by being thrown from their safety seats is latch. LATCH, which stands for Lower Anchors and Tethers for Children. Latch bypasses a vehicle's seatbelt system by using anchors found between the vehicle's backseat cushions to securely fasten child safety seats. Both vehicle and safety seat must be latch compatible for the system to work, so check closely before blast-off. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Igpe Attenlay is a dialect designed to confuse. But if Pig Latin is easier to understand than the language spoken when buying a used car, I'll help translate the double talk when we come back. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. From Secretary of the Navy Ray Mabus. Every time the cost of a barrel of oil goes up $1, it costs the U.S. Navy $31 million. But it's costly in more ways than just money. For every 50 convoys of gasoline we bring in, we lose a Marine, killed or wounded. That is too high a price to pay for fuel. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Need a quick course in Greek to buy a used car? Don't be confused, because I'm going to translate for you. Program vehicles are those that were allotted by car manufacturers to their executives. Off-lease vehicles are offered for sale by dealers at the expiration of a lease. And pre-owned or used vehicles are simply those that are traded in. One more translation? Here's how you say good deal. Pre-purchase inspection. Have your technician give your prospective vehicle a thorough check before you sign on the dotted line. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic, live via ABC Radio Satellite Services. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll-free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Marty White. Welcome to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join me this morning. Sit back and ride along with me this hour, and let's participate. We have Jim calling in with some information, some reports for you and for me as well. Some interesting information that has to do, I'm sure, part of it with VW. It still seems to be in the news. And then we'll take your calls at 888-227-2546. That's 888-CAR-CLINIC. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by K&N, the original performance air filter of NASCAR. Superior airflow, superior performance. Drive to knfilters.com. Notice I said filters because it's plural. I don't know why they didn't put knfilter.com, but it's not. It's knfilters.com. Great product. I use them. I got two of them in one car. That's right, twin intakes. This segment also brought to you in part by Wherever Brake Quality Brake Hardware Kits. Replace your brake hardware, folks, with Wherever Quality Brake Hardware on every brake job. For certified fit and performance, insist on Wherever Quality Brake Hardware Kits, available at your local Advanced Auto Parts store. I'll take your calls when I come back from this short commercial break. We'll take Jim's call as well. And I see that James is in the queue. It's easy to do. 888-227-2546. What's grinding you? Your brakes? Don't succumb to that daily grind. Stop it with Carlson. Whether you're a DIYer or a brake professional, choose Carlson Quality Brake Hardware Kits for the highest quality materials and processes. Carlson controls the design, engineering, and manufacturing of all their brake hardware, ensuring proper fit and performance. Why risk your brake job with inferior brake hardware that may not fit or perform properly? Eliminate the risk by asking for Carlson Quality Brake Hardware Kits for every brake job. What can open and close hundreds of times a day on your vehicle? Your vehicle's thermostat, which performs two critical jobs: accelerates engine warm-up and regulates engine operating temperature. With so much at stake, like engine wear, fuel economy, emissions, and cold weather drivability, choose a thermostat professional installers choose. Stant. Stant's Superstat is premium grade and features a heavier gauge stainless steel housing and larger heat motor for optimal temperature control. For more Superstat advantages, visit Stant.com. Let's go to the Car Clinic mail bag. Here's a question from John in Oklahoma. Dear Bobby, a friend and I were in my garage working on my 05 Torch Red Mustang, and he noticed I had a K&N cold air intake. He mentioned that he and his son recently installed an AEM kit on his 2010 Dodge Challenger. Being a huge fan of K&N, I asked why he didn't use a K&N cold air intake. He said that K&N actually makes AEM products. I thought they were competitors. Thanks for writing and listening, John. We checked with K&N and found out your friend is right. In fact, AEM has been a part of K&N since 2009. But while they're in the K&N family, AEM products are still uniquely AEM. Spectre Performance is another company that's now also part of K&N. Thanks again for checking in. Well, there you have it, the latest. AEM and Spectre Performance are part of K&N. Learn more at knfilters.com. That's knfilters.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Like Shakespeare, we ask the question, what's in a name? Ours is pretty blah. We're Geico, not to be confused with Gecko, a small tree lizard. And no, Geico doesn't have a sister company named Girl Co. So, in the absence of a perfect name, focus group tested for hipness, We offer car insurance at a fair price. In 15 minutes, you could save 15%. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Our name may not be cool, but saving money always is. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
I tend to put things off. For example, I put off getting a home equity line of credit for a while. Then one day, when I should have been doing my laundry, I went to LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form and got 4 offers back within hours. Then I chose the line of credit that was right for me. Who knows? I may even get around to using it someday.
When banks compete, you win at LendingTree.com. Equal housing opportunity. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started with this hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Just consider me your personal car consultant. We'll take your calls at 888 Car Clinic. That's 888-227-2546. I suggest you get in early, and then that way we won't be rushed toward the end of this hour. I am going to share with you a little later in this hour some interesting data on engine reliability. This is after warranty expiration, and it's based on 50,000 respondents of a survey from Warranty Direct. And the site, if you want to prep yourself, is warrantydirect.com. I think it's very interesting, and I'm going to share with you the number one most reliable engine, and I'm also going to share with you the number one highest failure rate of a vehicle, which really does not surprise me. What does surprise me is that the number 9, which is at the very bottom of the list, is a Volkswagen. And I'm really surprised, really. Okay, let's take a call from James. Then we're going to go to Jim, our car clinic reporter. James, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic, sir.
Good morning, Bobby.
Good morning, James.
I enjoy your show every Saturday morning, but I get it Saturday evening because of football season. You know what I mean?
Well, hey, if you can't beat them, you got to join them. So,
okay, I'll tell everybody we got 4 seasons: spring, winter, fall, and football, right?
Yeah. Are you an Ole Miss fan?
Yes, sir. Well, State.
State. Okay. Well, you know, Ole Miss beat Bama again.
Yes, sir.
And then they forgot to show up with Florida.
Before we get into football, this is supposed to be an automobile program. I'll stay here and talk football with y'all.
Okay, no. I don't want to go there because I don't know anything about football except that I see some athletes, and it really, James, I see athletes doing things that are impossible to do. I mean, reach out with one arm stretched up 5 feet up in the air, or it looks like 10 feet sometimes, and they come down with a ball, and the referees do a fantastic job. Granted, you know, there's a little controversy with playbacks and what have you, but I'm all for that because, you know, it's too close to call. But okay, let's talk cars now that we're off that.
All right. Bobby, I've got a 2002 Nissan Exterior 3.3.
Yep.
I bought it second-handed. I've had it since Christmas. This thing is giving me fits. Bogging down, not running right. I've got one. I've told you this once before. I like for one person to cut my hair. And he died, and his son took his job. I blended over into him. Same way with my mechanic. My mechanic works on my automobiles had a stroke. He's not able to work. He's been like that for about 8 months.
Right.
Anyhow, I've had this truck in the shop 5 times. Nobody can fix it. They don't know what the problem is. I finally took it to one of our local junior colleges here in Ellisville.
Oh. I
left it with them a week. I said, just check it over, find out what's causing it. When they put the motor back in there, a new motor back in there, they crossed the O2 sensors.
Okay.
They straightened them out.
Okay.
It went to running perfect, not missing, but they said the throttle position switch was messed up on it. It was going to have to be changed out. I set the throttle position sensor according to the manual and the computer, top dead center, 0.49 volts, crank, let it run, reset it, idling. But what all does that, my question is, that throttle position switch, what all does it cover besides just idling?
It's a major tell-all. It tells the computer the relative position of the throttle. And then the computer gets a signal from the drive shaft or the speed sensor that may as well be hooked to the drive shaft. It's not, but it's a speed sensor. So the computer gets an input of ambient temperature of air. The air mass sensor tells it how much air is going into the engine. The engine RPM tells the speed of the engine, and the speed sensor tells the speed of the road, and that is determined by the transmission, the gear that it's in. But if you step on the accelerator, that's called a driver demand. So the driver demand, the computer is dependent on the driver demand for input. And for an example, in cars that are drive-by-wire that have no throttle cable whatsoever, there's a motor that opens the throttle, and that motor is directly controlled by the computer that has directly sent a signal by the throttle position switch as to how far open or closed or at rest or wide open throttle that you have it. So if you disconnected a throttle position sensor, I guess there'd be a fail-safe. I've never done that, except for testing. But if you disconnected a throttle sensor, then to me, the computer wouldn't know that you're stepping on the accelerator, and it wouldn't open the throttle, so you could just pump the fuel all you wanted to and open the throttle, and nothing would happen. So it's a very, and for the most part, TPS switches are non-adjustable. There is a spec, and you mentioned .049. There's a half a volt spec, and as the throttle is depressed, the voltage is increased. And here's
correct.
And James, here's how simple it is. A dimmer switch in your den for your den lights at home is a potentiometer, as is a radio potentiometer that turns the volume up and down. Turn it to the right, the lights get bright. Turn it down, the lights go down. Turn it all the way to the left, the lights go off. So all the way to the left means no voltage, means the engine is idling, and other parameters are used to set the idle speed. The minute you move that switch from off or rest, I'm talking about 15 thousandths of an inch, then the computer says, oh, James is stepping on the accelerator, and then it takes its lead from there, and it moves the engine or opens the throttle for the engine. That's not a terribly expensive part, and if I had any doubts, if I were you and I had any doubts, I'd just replace the throttle position sensor.
Well, when I got it back from college, they set it without setting the time in it, without checking the 5 or 10 degrees top, dead center, and it was running good. But it would, when it shift out of second into third, it just slide from second into third. Well, after I made that adjustment, it quit.
Well, that's
good.
Right, because the input, the driver demand, tells the transmission, tells the computer whether you're going 5 miles per hour house hunting, looking for an address, or you're accelerating onto an on-ramp for an interstate, and that's two different animals. And one, you're going 20, 40, 60 miles an hour, and the other one, you're going 2, 4, 6 miles per hour. And the computer has to know what your wishes are, what your demands. And again, it's called driver demand. So all of those things, and really we could talk all day on all those things, but the bottom line is all of those sensors have to be in alignment before the computer tunes the engine and operates the engine, and the computer doesn't even know it's working an engine. All it knows is
that TPS. Is it a gray matter? Is it either black it runs, white it don't run, or a gray matter where it just fluctuates back and forth?
Oh no, it has a sweep. It's sweep. It goes from
That's
zero.
What I set it on 4.9 and let it warm up. It come back to about 3.2 volts. When you give it gas, it'll increase.
Well, yeah,
and I just wondered,
sure.
Will a switch just work sometimes and then not work, or does it work all the time? But don't work?
No. Electronics will do whatever electronics want to do when they want to do it, and the trick is to find it. Hey, my friend, you keep up.
Mr. Bobby, I appreciate it a bunch.
I appreciate you.
Too much of your time, but I really enjoy your show. I try to listen every Saturday, and just keep on keeping on and tell Miss Jan I said hello.
I will do that. Thank you very much. Nice gentleman there. Let's go to Jim, and we're going to find some of the latest news, and then I see we have another calls coming in. Again, folks, let me remind you, 888 Car Clinic is the number for you to call, 888-227-2546. Jim, good morning. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house.
Well, it's good to be here. That call from James was fantastic. I learned a lot from both of you. Very knowledgeable people, both you guys. And I have to say, you're the guru of cars because I could never jump in your place and do a diagnostic answer for the caller. You are the man.
Well, I thank you for that. The bottom line is there are about 12 questions that would cover almost everything. What I take away from each conversation and what I hope that our listening audience takes away is some education and some entertainment. James is a Mississippi guy, and when I'm an Alabama fan and Florida State fan, in that order. And when I think of Florida State, when I think of Alabama, I think of Ole Miss, obviously.
Careful, Bobby. You got a Florida student running the board here.
Yeah, Kevin's a Florida guy, so I guess it takes all kinds. But Jim, I thank you so much. And I'll tell you, I learned every Saturday. When I come in and sit down in the studio like 2 minutes before airtime, I'm not sure what I'm going to say or what's going to happen. But then when you call and then James calls and then Angie calls, we've got other calls coming in, then everyone has a car question. What everyone doesn't know is that there are no dumb car questions. The only dumb car questions are one not asked. And you and I both know, you're a car owner. Your son works for GM. You bring information to us on a weekly basis, and so you know that it's a changing world. And I know that when the music plays, I have to take a short break. I'm going to come back, Jim. You stay right there. And folks, Jim's got some interesting information for us today. Don't touch that dial. Like us, you'll love us. This Tire Maintenance Minute is brought to you by General Tire and the G-Max AS03, the ultra high-performance all-season tire. Your tire sidewall is full of useful information, but what does it all mean? Take max cold inflation pressure. This number isn't necessarily what you should inflate your tires to, but rather the maximum pressure the tire was designed to hold. It's the vehicle manufacturer that determines optimal tire inflation pressure that keeps the vehicle performing at its best. With the exception of a very few vehicles that had their inflation numbers changed, you can find the manufacturer's recommended pressure on a tag inside the driver's door jamb, glove box, or fuel door. Proper inflation will result in longer tire life, increased tread mileage, and safer ride. General Tire's G-Max AS03 offers technologically advanced features like replacement tire monitor and visual alignment indicator, alerting drivers of misalignment and tread wear conditions. Drive to GeneralTire.com to learn more about the G-Max AS03, the ultra high-performance all-season tire. History's full of automotive breakthroughs, like the electric starter in 1911 and analog brakes in 1985. Now, Shell is proud to introduce another automotive breakthrough, Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline, featuring an innovative additive package with patented technology. Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline protects against all three main types of engine performance threats: gunk, corrosion, and wear. In conventional engines, Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline cleans and protects intake valves and fuel injectors. In modern engines, it works in extremely hot engine temperatures to resist the breakdown of cleaning agents and protect against performance-robbing gunk. Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline, proven in industry-standard tests and recommended by BMW M Series. Don't give your engine just any premium gasoline. Choose a breakthrough. Choose Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Learn more at shell.com/US.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hon, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
98.
Higher.
Higher at 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your hosts, Bobby Likis
And I want to welcome you back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time, we broadcast this program. Actually, we global cast it because in addition to our AM and FM stations across the nation, we're available on HD on our YouTube channel at watchbobbylive.com. And it's really kind of cool. In addition to the watchbobbylive.com, we have a Pinterest board that is different. It's not necessarily connected to the broadcast side of our business. For those of you who may not be familiar, we operate Car Clinic Service Pre-Repair. The network's been around for 24 years. Our automotive service shop, which is the hub of our business in a 15,000 square foot automotive service shop center, has been around for 44 years. I founded that company in 1971, March to the 11th. So what we do, in addition to service and repair automobiles, of course, is we, and I often tell you what's happening in my shop, and now you can catch a glimpse of some of that work because we're taking pictures of cars on and in the shop, and you can go to the Pinterest board and check out the In the Shop with Bobby Likis on our Pinterest.com/Bobby Likis. And on this week's In the Shop board, we pinned a photo, some photos, actually more than one, of a 2006 GMC Yukon XL with 130,000 miles. And Zach Cash, our ASE certified technician, was working on it. And here was the problem. The rear blower motor resistor melted, and it caused the blower motor to draw excessive amperage on the wiring. So he traced the resistor wiring for the rear AC to the main body connector at the front of the vehicle. So here's a rear air conditioner that's not working, and he traced the problem, which was the blower motor, but he traced the problem all the way back to the connector that pushes the amperage, the current, to that blower motor, and it was burned. And you can see, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So if you're interested in what goes on inside a service shop, go to Pinterest.com/Bobby Likis and In the Shop board, and you'll see photos of what happened to this GMC Yukon. It's really, really cool. We call it Reality Auto Service, and these are real services and repairs performed every week right here in our own service shop. Let's go back to Jim, our Car Clinic reporter. Jim, thanks for holding. Let's kick it off. What you got for us today?
Okay, Bobby, we'll make it short, but it is brief and it's to the point. Volkswagen has said they will not be selling their diesel cars this year. That's a hold on them. And they've also stated that they cannot afford to repair them. Even with a class action suit against them, I'm thinking it's going to be amazing for to pull out of this mess that's worse than fire.
No, wait. You're telling me that they're not going to sell diesel cars? VW is not going to sell diesel cars in the United States?
That's what I read in one report. Now, how valid that report is, I can't verify.
Well, how's that going to, for their dealer network that depends on the VW? I mean, look at the popularity of that vehicle. I don't really understand that. I mean, you'll break that. The company will be broken if that's the case. I mean, at least it appears to me. That's
why I see it the same way. And if they're admitting and can't and won't fix the cars, they can't sell them anyway, even if they wanted to.
Well, I'm glad I'm not in those shoes. I mean, I thought I stumped my toe and hurt my toe. I thought I hit a pothole with my car the other day, and I thought I was in trouble.
What did you do, visit Michigan? We're full of them.
No, it was a manhole. It was, so there's I understand a $2.5 billion lawsuit that's been filed against VW, or has that?
Yeah, come on, now that car company might be the biggest, but that's one of the biggest lawsuits I've ever heard of yet.
Well, that and BP Oil, of course, that's settled, but the lawsuit is just now starting with VW. Well, it will be interesting, Jim, to watch what rolls out. And a friend of mine owns a local VW dealer, and next time I see him out socially, I'll ask him, what's it like being the owner of a new car dealership that sells VWs, and what are people buying now? And a real good question is, I think another question is, what will somebody do that already has one and to get it fixed? Let's move on. What else do you have for us?
Okay, Bobby, we're going to go for some of the reports that you shared with me, and we're talking about the number one cars in 2015. And you'll say, why, with the 2016s coming out? Well, I bought a 2013 when it was 214 with only 10 miles on it, and I consider it to be a new car and got a fantastic bargain that way.
Sure, yeah.
So I would want to know what's out there in the 215 to get rid of them. They got low mileage, never been driven by anybody. That's still, to me, a good investment.
Well, it is, and to me, I agree with your philosophy and your thinking, with the exception that if they changed the body style of a particular automobile, and normally a manufacturer will keep a body style some 7 years, and historically, and they change the body style. So if you bought a new 2015, we know that the 16s are out now, but if you bought a new 15 that was indeed brand new, you got a real good deal on it, and whatever make of car that was, they changed the body style, then if you back it up to even September, I know we're in October, but if you back it up to September, then you've got a year-old car because, or it could be a 5-year-old car because that design ran its course from 5, 6, 7 years, and quite candidly, the car that I drive is a 2013 Jag, and I thought when I bought that car that by 2016 the body would change because that's the car that Ian Callum, when Tata bought Jag from Ford, Ian Callum designed that car, and that was in 2010, as memory serves me. And I figured by 16, yeah, there'd be a new body out. Now it's going to be 18 before they come out with a new body because they focused on the F-type and the XF type, the mid price car. So that would be the only difference that I would see. And a lot of people say, well, that's a new car. Don't buy a new car when it's out. Give it a year or so. I totally disagree with that because we don't live in those days any longer. A new car is just it's better than the one that it replaced. Anyway, what else do we have?
Well, I agree with you, but I just want to add real quick that the other point that I would pick, if I had a 2015 car and I was going to get double the mileage in a 2016, and if I drove a lot, then I would want the car that would give me more mileage.
I got you. I agree. Well, there's always circumstances, and you have to weigh all those things. And a lot of times people go in to buy cars, they don't necessarily look at what's important, which is first, the budget, 2, the miles per gallon, and 3, the insurance cost. I mean, you get a car and you see dealers advertising, $299 a month, lease this car. I mean, I see BMW all the time, lease this car for $315 a month, with a $3,000 down payment. And sometimes not. And you say, well, gosh, that's I can drive this car for that kind of money, but you won't drive one with all the widgets and gadgets on it. And then there's always that cash up front, and then you have insurance and maintenance and those sorts of things, and people don't think about that. So there's a lot more. Alan Bell is the Director of Consumer Affairs for General Motors. He's been on the program many times, Jim, and he came on one day and gave us the Car Buying 101. It's on our site. If you just go to Bobby Shares the Mic With on our page, carclinicnetwork.com, and then scroll down to Bobby Shares the Mic With, and you'll find this gentleman, Alan Bell, and James Bell. I'm sorry, James Bell. Yeah, thank you. And so I was really surprised that he didn't hawk GM cars. He got on. He talked about Car Buying 101, and it wasn't about buying a General Motors car at all. It was about the way you should go about buying an automobile. And I gave him and GM an attaboy in my own mind because he did a good job. What else do we have?
Okay, Bobby, let's talk about GM for a minute since you did mention them, that they're coming out with a Colorado car that when it's on the road in about a month, because it's going to come out late this fall, that Colorado truck will do 24 miles per gallon. Now, that's the pre-test. And the guy that tested it said he thinks the car could do 30 if you drove it properly. So that's going to be one of the hottest diesel trucks on the road, in my estimation.
So it's a diesel then. So is it
right? That is correct.
Then it's I presume a 4-cylinder turbocharged diesel.
Right.
I wonder if it passes emission test. Oh, I'm bad. You know it does. You know it has to. Yeah.
It would have to. There's no
it would have
to.
It would have
just
to.
Like I have to do good reports for you, or you'll fire me.
Well, So there's no validity to the fact that GM's going to buy their engines from Volkswagen. Okay, let's don't go there. What else do you have?
Okay, let's talk about the Toyota Corolla. Okay, the Toyota Corolla is a car that you and your family will remember most likely being owned at one time or another. But the Toyota Corolla now has achieved a high stature in the sales numbers, acquiring a number 2 position in the 2015 cars, with 7,000 units have flown over the lots of the 22 Toyota dealers under the automotive umbrella.
Wow.
Looking back. And that is a fantastic car. But again, there's always a reason to buy everything. Why do I buy GM? Because I like the suspension. I like the way it rides because of the suspension, and I like the discount I get through my boy working there.
And yes, because you have family roots to GM.
But it's been pointed out that most people in America, for the big 3 car companies, have family roots, and they have the big discount factor right there. It's just like months we've been talking about driverless cars. I had a phone call today before your show, and the person said, well, they're not going to be affordable. They are going to be affordable. They're not going to make them like a Bentley that's way out of everybody's range. They want to have a safety factor for all cars on the road, and I believe they will be affordable.
Okay. In closing, Jim, any other topics you'd like to share while we're together?
No, I think that's it for this week. And, Bobby, it's the only thing I'll add is it's always nice to share listening to your show because I always learn from you.
Well, vice versa, too. I appreciate your reports, and it's very interesting. And I also, Jim, I appreciate your input because I know that, true, you may be a little biased toward GM, but the bottom line is you have your own opinion. We all have our own opinions, and quite candidly, that drives what we do. When you go to a dealership, you look at the color, you look at a lot of things, that have little to do with the finances of it. In fact, I recently learned that the cost is somewhere down into the number 16 of items that people look at when they go to buy an automobile. There's a lot of other factors. So it's very interesting. Again, I thank you so much. I look forward to having you back on Bobby Likis Car Clinic next week. Thank you, and have a great week, man.
You too, buddy. Take care.
888-227-2546. When you come back, we're going to talk with Angie about a Porsche purchase. That's interesting. And then Stanley is in the queue as well from Lakeland. I'm Bobby Likis, 888-227-2546. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. We Americans are outspoken when it comes to choice, whether it's menu selections or political elections. So why not at the pump? E15 and E85 provide an American-sourced alternative for vehicle model years 2001 and later and flex fuel vehicles, respectively. Opponents claim that drivers will be confused at the pump. This objection is confusing, as drivers have historically chosen octanes and diesel. In fact, studies show that Americans do want a choice at the pump by a 3-to-1 margin. In the future, choices will be technology-enabled by innovative blender pumps, which will energize retailers and empower consumers to tailor their fueling options to include the ethanol level best suited to their need. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Drive to ethanol.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
Good night, Prevotella. Good night, Actinomyces. Good night, Streptococcus.
Germs, millions of them. They've been building up in your mouth all day, and some of them can even lead to the gum disease gingivitis. Say goodnight with Listerine. Just 30 seconds of Listerine before bed kills germs, even germs that can cause gingivitis. Use Listerine every night and go to sleep with a healthier mouth. See your dentist. Use as directed when brushing and flossing aren't enough.
If you're familiar with the classified section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the classified section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's Vehicle Protection Program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you for tuning in to Bobby Likis Car Clinic today. I enjoy my Saturdays with you across the globe. Watch BobbyLive.com. We're available in HD thanks to our Google, YouTube account. That really works really well for us and for you as well. And also on our stations, our affiliates across the nation. So I want to send a thank you to our affiliates. And also I want to send a thank you up to New York, to Westwood One, to Angel, who does a fantastic job at TOC, and that's the Technical Operating Center for the network, and not only my network, but for many networks across the nation. And just as a little FYI, folks, we produce this program inside a studio that's really a nice studio, off-grade acoustic systems built in the studio. Kevin runs the board and does a great job, inserts the commercials and works the volume levels. And then we send this via data transfer to New York, to Westwood One, and they put it on the satellite. So even in my hometown of Pensacola, Florida, if you're listening to this, you're not getting it directly from me. You're getting it from a satellite that's, I think, 100,000 miles out toward California way. But anyway, hats off to Angel for his untiring technical help whenever there's a challenge, and just for being the hell of a nice guy that he really is. I'll tell you, he's just fun to talk with. Let's go to Angie. Angie, thank you so much for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning, Bobby. Thank you for taking my call.
You are welcome.
And in the spirit of full disclosure, you are speaking with a Florida Gator.
Well, Kevin will just be delighted. He'll be delighted. And I have to say this, because I watched Ole Miss beat Bama last week, I watched Florida play Ole Miss. And I will tell you, I mean, some games are won by plays that just happen to fall the right way and those sorts of things. Of course, you still have to give the win. But Florida outplayed Ole Miss in every facet of it. And I'm not a football specialist, but it was unbelievable. I guess you were. What were you doing? I mean, besides glued to the TV?
Well, besides screaming and running around and in and out of the house, yeah, it was quite an afternoon. I don't care how long you've been a Gator. I don't care what you think of the Gators. No one thought we were going to do that Saturday afternoon. So it was, honestly, it was one of the best afternoons of my life
well,
for a long time. We've been through a long dry spell with my wonderful Gators, so it was it was a lot of fun, I can tell you that.
Well, okay. Well, and one more point, Angie, then we'll get into the cars. Friends of ours invited my wife to the Gator and the Florida State game last year.
Uh-huh.
And of course, I have the program, so I had to, after the program, drive from Pensacola to Tallahassee, and they saved a seat for me. And I got there, and it was a lot of chaos going on. We were on the Florida State side, and at that time, the quarterback for Florida, whenever he couldn't throw or connect with someone or hand the ball off, and he was doomed, he just run around the end, and he continued to make. And I jumped up and I turned to my friend and I said, "Bo," I said, "they got to stop the quarterback." I said, "It's obviously got to." And Angie, I'm a car guy, right? The very next play, they stopped the quarterback, and he looked at me and says, "Well, you know your game, don't you?" And I never said a word. Pure luck.
Oh.
Okay, let's talk about your Porsche.
Okay, this is my question. I've been doing some research on luxury SUVs. I'm looking to replace an older SUV I have now, so I'm looking at BMW, Mercedes, the Lexus, and I'm really intrigued by the Porsche Cayenne. It seems that it offers all the bells and whistles. It's all the luxury that you expect, and yet it seems to be practical too. It has good gas mileage. It's a safe car. Do you think that it's worth the extra money or the cost to get something at that level, or am I just paying for the name?
No, I think you're right on the money, and to that end, we have a customer. Dr. K is his name. His wife loves my guys and my teams, and they had one car, and she got the Porsche Cayenne, and I think it was a supercharged EV model. I mean,
wow.
it was way over the top. It had beautiful yellow calipers. It was red in color. And the funny thing about this, Angie, is that her husband says, until we sell the other car, you're not driving this car. And her new Porsche sat in the garage for 2 weeks or 3 weeks because he said, you're not going to drive that car till we sell this other car because I know we'll never sell it. And so obviously she sold it, and the first trip that she made with this new car was to bring it. And we took pictures of it, probably they're on Facebook, but we took pictures of it. And I will tell you, I would, if you asked me what I would opt to buy, it would definitely be that particular automobile because Porsche has always made great cars. They went through some slump, as did Mercedes. 2000 to 2004, Mercedes had electrical problems, and they were trying to make a car for everybody, and they had some quality issues, no question. But I would go with a Porsche number one. I would go probably Mercedes number two, Lexus. You can't beat the Lexus. I've owned Lexus, but they're boring. and I don't mean that with disrespect. The one that I had was an SC400, and it did everything it was supposed to do just right. But the engine was quiet, the exhaust was quiet, the fit, the finish, the seats, it did everything. But it was not exciting at all. It didn't have any character. And when I say character, other than the fact that it was a well-made automobile. So I think I would highly agree with you. I mean, that would be my choice.
Well, I appreciate that. I like to drive. I don't want to sit on my sofa and drive down the street. I enjoy driving, so that's why I think I'm leaning towards the Porsche.
You're singing my tune. Send me pictures. Send me pictures. And when you get down to the nitty-gritty, to maybe a couple of different models or what have you, are you going to purchase a vehicle off of the lot new, or are you going to order your new car?
Probably first time, just buy what's available. The only thing is everything that I'm looking at has this dark leather interior, and I hate dark leather interior. So I'll just have to wait till I find something that has the lighter tan interior.
Well, you can go on site. You can go to you could. Why don't you do this, and then we'll move on to other calls. But Angie, why don't you go to Build Your Porsche? I mean, because you know that's what I did with my car. I spent a friend of mine and I spent 9 months tweaking my car out. And,
oh wow!
Yeah, we did. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
And it's a one-off because I ordered it. It took 5.5 months to get it. Having said that, why don't you go online and build your Porsche the way you want to do it, and then there's a search for that car, and you can search the U.S. right on Porsche's site for that car that's available throughout the dealer network. And yeah, somebody's going to reach out to you if you want them, if you allow that, and that's okay. But the bottom line is, just because it's not locally available doesn't mean it's called a dealer transfer. So if there's a Porsche like you want in California or in Jacksonville or in Chicago, it's not a big deal. It's a dealer exchange program, and other than the transportation cost. And they have trucks going back and forth all the time anyway. So that's what I'd recommend you do first. And second, I want pictures of the car when you get it.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, thanks for calling.
You got it.
We'll take another
Thank
call.
you so much.
Thank you, Angie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go Gators, right, Kevin? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. All right, let's go to Stanley was up next, and then I'm going to Jim in New York. Stanley, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning, Bobby. How are you doing this morning?
Really well, thank you. Thanks for asking. Yourself?
Oh, I'm working on my Honda Civic. I got a question for you.
Okay, sure.
You're more familiar with these than I am. I have a real factory shop manual on these things, about 500 pages I bought off one of the local internets.
Good.
The real cable for the turn signal, my 99 Honda Civic EX has cruise control.
Okay.
I've had the car for about 4 months, bought it in basically a basket case. I'm putting it back together, and the cruise control didn't work. The SRS light never came on, so I found a used steering column out of the local salvage yard, bought the whole thing with cruise control out of another 99 Honda Civic.
Right.
Now my cruise control works fine. Now the SRS light stays on. You think it's the real cable? That's what I changed on my car yesterday. I replaced the real cable to get the cruise control to work.
Well,
now the SRS light comes on.
Well, the SRS light can be triggered by, it says a 99 model. The SRS light can be safety restraint system, can be triggered by an engine malfunction. The SRS light, it depends on other systems to be in operation for the SRS to work.
Right.
And I'll give you an example. We had Lexus in the shop. Came in with a slow start. It cranked, then it would finally crank off, which it was a crank sensor was a problem. The SRS light was on. The reason and there was nothing wrong with the SRS. We just had to clear that code. The reason the SRS light was on is because that system, it's just like that. Let's just say that Stanley is in charge of the safety restraint system, and I'm in charge of the engine. Well, Stanley depends on me being able to control the throttle along with the brakes and traction, a traction control.
Right.
In order for Stanley to do his job. Well, what if I stepped out of the office and I'm not available? Then you're going to hold up your hand and say, hey, I can't do my job. I'm out of here. And so that's what happens very often is the SRS light will come on not because there's a problem with the SRS, it's because there's a problem with the engine, and the SRS says, I can't do my job. And I'll simplify it for you. If you've got a check engine light on, there are many times that the SRS will say there's a problem. It doesn't know what that problem is. It only knows that there's Stanley and Bobby's in charge of the throttle, and you're in charge of safety restraint, which means you and I have to communicate, and whenever you tell me, I have to back the throttle off. Well, if I'm out of the house or I'm otherwise sick or otherwise not working correctly, then you're going to hold up a flag and says, time out, I temporarily cannot do my job. So don't get hung up on the moral of the story is don't get hung up on the SRS. Instead, clear the codes if you have a computer that allows you to do that, and recheck it, and then check that circuit and go from there.
Okay. I will get somebody. I don't have the computer. The only thing I can do is disconnect the battery.
No, that doesn't work for
I know that's not what you want.
That's history. That was 95 and earlier. 96,
right.
The OBD2, that doesn't work. So get somebody to clear the codes and clear all the codes. Now, we don't really recommend that people clear codes when they come to our shop because there's a lot of, it's like clearing your health records. You go from one doctor to another, and the doctor says, where are your records? To transfer your records. Oh, I cleared all the records. What? You mean you got them? No, I cleared them all. So that's what happens, and we get upset about that because we can't do our job if somebody clears the codes. Likewise, I just had, my vehicle had a low fuel light, which I'm dealing with right now, and I sent it in because it's under warranty, and I checked the codes before it left, and they serviced it, and when it came back, it not only had all the codes that were in it when it left, it had 2 additional codes, and the codes weren't cleared. So I was upset, disappointed at the technician, because if he or she had serviced the car and serviced and repaired the fuel gauge, the last thing that he or she would have done is clear the codes in the car so there'd be fresh codes going forward. You got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hey, let me know if I can help you again. Thanks for your call.
Hey, have a good day.
You as well. Let's go to New York. Jim, thanks for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I have a 2015 CRV, about 2,000 miles on it, and I am getting, I would consider, terrible gas mileage, 17, 18.
And what does the Monroney sticker say that you're supposed to get on that vehicle? That's the new car sticker.
I do not know that.
Well, did you buy it new?
Yeah, I bought it brand new right off.
Well, do you
that
have
came
the
in
do you have
off
that
the lot,
do you have the window sticker?
Sure do.
Well, it's on there. In other words, on the window sticker, it's on there because it tells you, how clean that vehicle burns, how many ounces or pounds of toxins. In fact, Michael Sprague, who is the vice president of operations for Kia, said we don't make cars by the design anymore. We make them by the tons of emissions. And so Jim, look at that, and if it says 1622, which means 16 MPG city and 22 highway, or 1628.
I'm in the range, yeah.
Then, well, no.
I just thought that, I used to get better mileage with my old Caprice, and I had fun with that.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
4-barrel,
But here's, in order, and we're out of time, but I want you to know this. Find the Monroney sticker, the new car sticker, and read that and see what it says you're supposed to get, and you should get within that. In fact, there have been some, Hyundai was penalized because they cheated a 1 mile per gallon, and my office manager gets an $86 a year credit for gasoline on her Hyundai because she was part of that. She bought her Hyundai during that era. And so it's very interesting. So look at your Monroney sticker and get that information because that's correct and should be correct, and the car should get exactly within 2 points, 3 points with that. That's all the time we have. Thanks for tuning in this hour. Another great hour coming up.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
In the service bay this week is a 2012 Ford Mustang. The vehicle is idling rough, hesitating at stops, and the fuel trim is out of spec. Oil is dark and overdue. The car has not been maintained properly and is, to no surprise, not running well. Our diagnosis? We believe it's the fuel system, not just dirty, beyond dirty. Carbon has built up on the back of the intake valves and needs to be removed. The solution? New Fuel Pro Complete from Motor Medic. Fuel Pro Complete is a professional fuel system cleaning kit that's easy for DIYers to use. It's a simple 2-step system and takes just 5 minutes. Most fuel system cleaners only clean through the gas tank. Fuel Pro Complete also cleans through the vacuum line, bypassing intake sensors to avoid any potential damage. The result? No more rough idles or acceleration hesitation with improved power and performance. Visit FuelProComplete.com for more information, including a demo video and port locator with a list of vehicle makes and models.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Bob, what's new? Last month I'm in Africa. When this wildebeest charges me, we butt heads and he's history. After I pull my guide from the jaws of an alligator, I dig into some beef jerky. I get heartburn. I take out my Rolaids as I'm fighting off a wild boar. In under 10 seconds, it starts working. Then the boar is bye-bye. My heartburn's gone.
Rolaids starts working in under 10 seconds? You expect me to believe that?
It's true. Rolaids starts neutralizing acid in under 10 seconds. ROLAIDS spells relief. Use as directed.
While Johnny Kim was getting ready for the first customers of the day, someone else was looking at larger space for his growing business. At 3 o'clock, while the Curtis family was watching their daughter's soccer game, someone else was walking a prospective tenant through one of their apartment buildings. And while Carmen Delabar was preparing for a fashion show, someone else met with an appraiser about her investment property. You've got a life. We let you live it. We're realtors. Real estate is our life.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll-free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Marty White. We also opened the 888 toll-free number, which is easier to remember if you're driving your car. We secured that line years ago. It's 888 Car Clinic. That's 227-2546. So if you're out and about and you want to call in, and perhaps you're going to wait till you get home before you call in, or you don't remember the numbers, just remember 888 Car Clinic is the number to call, and I'll be glad to talk with you about anything bumper to bumper on your automobile. Oils, that's always a slippery slope to talk about, no pun intended. It really is. You know, should you use synthetic oil? Should you use conventional oil? What's the difference between conventional and synthetic? Regardless of brand, that's a good question. What is the difference between synthetic and conventional engine oil? When I come back, I'll open the phones up and we'll see who knows what about oil at 888 Car Clinic. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. If your ride's getting bumpy, it may be time for new shocks or struts. They should be inspected every 50,000 miles, so check out the Monroe Shocktober sale going on now at O'Reilly Auto Parts. You purchase 4 select combinations of Monroe shocks for the price of 3 after a mail-in rebate. Choose Sensatrack, Rancho, Reflex, and Gas Magnum. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. This vehicle maintenance spotlight is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. With Fall Car Care Month around the corner, it's time to prep your vehicle for winter's chill. Check your HVAC system, not just for comfort, but for safety reasons, like defrosting. Replace torn or cracked wiper blades, and make sure battery connections are corrosion-free. And if your battery is 3 years old, consider replacement. O'Reilly Auto Parts has a Superstart battery you need at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Now to the Car Clinic inbox. Carlos in Louisiana writes, Bobby, I'm a big fan of Car Clinic and am a longtime user of the K&N products that you talk about on your show. I often visit online forums and recently saw this statement that left me puzzled. More airflow equals more dirt in your engine. I've had nothing but great experiences with K&N, but wanted your opinion. Carlos, thanks for being a loyal Car Clinic listener and for trusting the advice I give about our sponsors' products. Many disposable air filters rely on the principle of surface loading. Because it's a thin sheet of material, once a hole in the material is plugged with a dirt particle, no air can pass through it. On the other hand, K&N air filters feature depth loading, multiple layers of oil-treated cotton gauze that capture dirt particles in more of a three-dimensional fashion. Using this technique keeps the air flowing without restriction while providing excellent filtration. Learn more about how filters work by visiting the FAQ section at knfilters.com. Not all brake hardware is the same. Carlson controls the design, engineering, and manufacturing for all their brake hardware for proper fit and performance. Carlson's state-of-the-art tools, equipment, and processes enable them to create quality parts with consistent curves, bends, and angles that meet even the tightest tolerances and specifications. Why risk your brake job with inferior brake hardware that may not fit or perform properly? Eliminate the risk by asking for Carlson quality brake hardware kits for every brake job.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at lendingtree.com.
This is Willie Works.
Hi.
Back to answer all your laundry questions, like how to get out those tough embedded odors.
Like when your husband comes back from the plant. Woo! Smelling like he brought the whole place home.
Or when one of the cows escapes and you have to wrestle it to the ground. What? I think that's a good one.
They're all good ones, and I have the solution. Febreze for the wash. Just add a capful with your detergent and odors disappear.
Wow! One capful is all it takes?
Yep, Febreze for the wash. One cap, one wash.
And say goodbye to odors.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And I want to welcome you into this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. And if you have a car question, or maybe you just want to share a car story, now's a good time to get in versus waiting to the last part of the hour, which is we get crammed and filled with calls. So, now is the best time. It doesn't have to be any brilliant question. The question could be something so simple as, should I use synthetic oil or conventional motor oil? What's the difference? And now that I remember, that was a question I kind of posed when I opened the show this hour was, what's the difference between conventional motor oil and synthetic engine oil? All synthetic engine oils. And it has a lot to do with the flowability, the pumpability of oil, the flow of oil, and the pumpability. And pumpability means that you've got a supply of oil in the bottom of an oil pan. This is not for dry sump engines, but for standard engines. And you've got to draw that oil from the pan, compress that oil, push it to and through and towards the extremities of the engine. And that means that the last part of the engine that gets the oil pressure is the upper part of the engine. And of course, that's just naturally because it's on the top side. The car that I drive has always been, and this is probably one of the mechanical parts about the car, or one of the few mechanical parts that I really don't like. It's very noisy when you fire it in the morning because it has a twin cams, and so it's 48 valves and direct injectors, and all of that. Those mechanical devices, the chains and what have you, depend on oil pressure, not only for lubrication, but to take up the slack. So when you don't have an oil pressure, the slack is there. When you first fire it up, you got this all sorts of noises, and then the noise goes away. So that's a part that I live with, but quite candidly, I would like for the car to have maybe an accumulator. Although that would be too much of a hassle to add an accumulator, but it would be really cool. An accumulator would have, it'd be a cylinder, kind of like a fire extinguisher, a small fire extinguisher, and it'd be a piston with a compressed air and compressed oil, and then when you crank the engine up, it would compress that air and push a piston down, and then when you turn the key off, there would be a solenoid that would hold that oil under pressure, pushing that oil and collapsing that oil, and then, or collapsing that air. And then when you turn the key on, of course, it would open that solenoid, and that pressure would pressurize the engine. So you say, well, why don't manufacturers do that? Well, number one, that's calls for exterior oil plumbing, and plumbing is another place to leak. If you don't have to get oil outside. And to that end, this past week, Castrol came out with, and it's been in the works for some time, what they think may be the next best way to change oil and filter. The oil and filter is housed in this bucket that looks like a battery. It's called Nexcel, Nexcel, and it's made by Castrol. And so you open the hood of your car, and you unlock it. It's got a little lock on the lever, sort of like a seat belt. It's got a lock on this bucket, and you unlock it, and you lift the bucket out, and that bucket has all the oil that's in the engine. Well, that's in the bucket. I'm sure there's always oil in the engine, and it has the filter, and you just take another one, a replacement, and put it in its place. And so it's like, I don't know, 10, 20, 30 seconds, less than a minute to change oil in the engine. So that's that's where that industry is sort of going. At least that's where Castrol would like for it to go. I see a lot of good in that. I also see a lot of downside in that with regard to the fact that you have to have umbilical cords. You have to have from the oil pump a pressure line that has to be flexible because the engine is moving around, but the bucket is mounted to the car, so you can't have a solid line. So you got to have a flexible line, which all air conditioners do, and all power steering hoses and those sorts of things. So that's always an opportunity for a hose to leak, like air conditioned hoses. Then you've got a return. Then you've got a couple of seals there where you plug this in. You've got little male-female fittings and those sorts of things. But it's pretty neat. If you want to check it out, you can, I'm sure, just Google Nexel and you'll see it. I want to share with you information. I see that we have a call from Washington, so I'm going to take Kirk's call first, and then I'm going to share with you some information about a 2012 Chevrolet Cruze, and then I just happened to choose these two, and a 2007 Chevrolet Cobalt. And the Cobalt had a customer concern, no crank. The starter was replaced, by the way. Still wouldn't crank. The crank means not start, means to crank over the engine. And there was power to the starter, but the starter didn't work. And they replaced the starter, and that didn't fix the car. And then the other one is the 2012 Chevrolet Cruze. The check engine light is on, and it had multiple codes. 1, 2, 3, 4, had 5 codes in it. And it all turned out to be a PCV valve, except, well, I'll get to that story when I get to it, because the PCV valve you could not replace. You had to replace a complete assembly to get to it. Kirk in Washington, thank you for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join us.
Oh, thank you, Bobby. Yeah, I had a question about the Chevy Duramax diesel pickups, and I'm in the market to buy a diesel pickup to use around the farm. I do some pulling, use it in a pump and electrical business as well. And I was just wondering what your opinion was of the Duramax diesel versus, Ford and Dodge's diesel.
I favor
that three-quarter ton pickup.
I favor the Duramax. I really do. I'm looking at vehicles that we have coming in the shop. Now, understand, Kirk, most of the diesels that we see need repairs. They're problems. We do provide maintenance, but by and large, most of our diesels come in for brakes or leaks or glow plugs or intake systems that are all dirty. And when I open the hood of a Ford, and I don't do the work in the shop any longer, but when I open the hood of a Ford, there's so many emissions controls and turbo hoses that give problems. So I would not recommend a Ford diesel. I couldn't do it. I think I'd have to go with a Duramax. And isn't that the vehicle that has the Allison transmission as well?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be my. But having said that, the Dodge has the Cummins, and that is a whale of a vehicle and a whale of an engine. So my choices would be, and I say choices, would be GM or the Cummins Dodge. And so what that, and I think either one would serve you well, but I think you definitely need, if you're buying a used one, you need to see service records, and I'll tell you, that's service. Certified used cars mean one thing, and all manufacturers have their own jargon for what a certified used car is. Mercedes-Benz with their certified, and BMW with their certified, and yada yada yada. Mm-hmm. But here's one thing that's a common denominator for a certified used car: the records, the maintenance records for that car are available. So it's hard to get the maintenance records of a used car at a dealership, because that means that the dealer is exposing the original owner to the new buyer, and you see they don't like to do that because number one, that's privacy. I mean, people trade their cars in at dealerships because they don't want to sell them directly, because they don't want to deal with it, and quite candidly, I can't blame them. I mean, you sell your car to a dealer or you trade it into a dealer, you don't care who buys it. You don't want to hear from the person who buys it.
Right.
I mean, that's just the way it's been. Let's just tell it like it is. But if you could possibly buy a vehicle like you're talking about with the records intact, I would choose that in a heartbeat over any vehicle that looks good and has been detailed and looks clean and what have you, because you never know what's on the inside.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, thank you very much, Bobby.
You're welcome. One last point. Make sure that whatever you decide to buy before you write the check, take it to a third party, whether it's a dealership or a local independent. And if it's a local independent, make sure that they work on diesels and have someone to perform a pre-purchase vehicle inspection. And Kirk, that doesn't mean that they're going to tell you everything that's wrong, because there'll be things wrong that they can't possibly inspect, because you're not going to pay $1,000 to have somebody check everything. You're only going to pay $100 or $150 to have it in a pre-purchase inspection. But that is a must for anyone buying a used car. It's a service that we have provided for years, and we've saved a lot of people a lot of money. And now when dealers, in our area, when dealers sell cars, used cars, and the customer, a potential buyer, says, I'm going to take it over to Car Clinic and have them check it out, they'll either turn the customer to another vehicle, or they'll say, yeah, by all means, this is a good one. It'll handle the inspection. Hey, thanks for your call, and the best of luck. Good advice and good choice. I'll be back, folks. Don't touch that dial.
They're out there. Gunk, corrosion, and wear, relentlessly preying on engines. But new Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline provides unbeatable protection from gunk and corrosion, and superior protection against wear, for the best total engine protection you can get. Stay ahead of engine threats with new Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline today.
I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Improving ethanol production efficiencies in concert with new farming technologies means the energy benefits of ethanol continue to grow. In recent research, the U.S. Department of Agriculture determined ethanol's energy balance to be 1.7 to 2.3. That's to say, today's ethanol production yields nearly twice as much energy as it took to create the gallon. Also, ethanol's chemical composition means a more complete, cleaner burn of fuel in vehicle engines. Increasing ethanol use in gasoline is directly leading to cleaner air and fewer toxic tailpipe emissions. In 2011, ethanol use reduced tailpipe CO2 equivalent emissions by 25.3 metric tons, equivalent to the emissions of 4 million vehicles. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Pay a mechanic $100 for a fuel system like a pro for $30. Rid your fuel system of performance-crippling carbon deposits and take back the power of your engine with new Fuel Pro Complete from Motor Medic. In 2 easy steps in 5 minutes, Fuel Pro Complete restores power, eliminates knocking, pinging, and rough idling, plus improves fuel economy. Fuel Pro Complete, the professional fuel system cleaning kit from Motor Medic. Get it today at participating O'Reilly Auto Parts and AutoZone stores.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Commercials are more effective if you use real people. So on the line is Angie McPhee, a Geico Auto Insurance customer who saved over $300. This is not an actor we hired to play Angie McPhee. It's the Angie McPhee. So in your own words, tell us, are you Angie McPhee?
Yes.
There. Unmistakable proof that Geico customers are real and save money. In 15 minutes, you could save 15%. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
Some original thinking by Starbucks barista Frank Botex.
What I love most is getting customers to smile in the morning. Starbucks is just a place to come and relax. Kick your feet back. I mean, it's a second home. Starbucks is now in a grocery store, and what better way to just become your own personal barista at home? You go to the grocery store, pick up some coffee, take it home, let the aroma take over your body.
Your favorite Starbucks coffee. At grocery, at home, at last.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Remember, every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time, Of course, you're in the central zone. That's 9 to 11, so you can do the math. Tune in. Your local radio station, AM and or FM station. We're simulcast on many AM and FM stations across the nation. And also you can go to Watch Bobby Live. Watch Bobby Live, and I'll wave at the camera. We've got a full HD, and we videocast this program. I see we have a couple of calls and others coming in. I want to share with you an email that I received from Pete, who lives in Tyler, Texas. And he asked this question: Bobby, I live near Dallas and enjoy listening to your Car Clinic show out of Tyler. I drive a 2012 Chevrolet Impala, and I'm hearing a noise from the back of the car, especially loud when I first start the car in the morning. The car seems to run okay, but I'm not comfortable with the noise. I need your advice before I take it into my local service shop for repairs. And my answer to Pete is, Pete, I suggest that you have your local service provider pressure test the car's fuel system. Worn fuel pumps often make noise before they fail altogether. And to be sure you get the best pump, I recommend that you ask for a Delphi pump. What I like most about Delphi is the Delphi patented Generation 4 turbine, which delivers fast fuel pressure rise for fast engine starts. Now remember, folks, the fuel pump doesn't run. It's not like your heart. It runs whether you're awake or not. A fuel pump only runs like an oil pump once the engine starts. So you need a pump that comes on and gets online very quickly. And Delphi fuel pumps are tested for durability for up to 150,000 miles. And in my Car Clinic Service pre-repair, we install Delphi pumps in our Car Clinic Service cars and our customers' cars, well, because we know that Delphi parts mean quality, Delphi quality. And by the way, Delphi fuel pumps use, and this is really neat for those techies out there, convoluted fuel hoses, which reduces the noise. So Pete, if your car had a Delphi fuel pump in it, it would have even less noise than the original equipment if it had not been a Delphi, because it has a cushioned fuel line, i.e. a convoluted fuel hose, and that does reduce the noise. Folks, take a quick drive to Delphi Auto Parts, where you can find car tips and you can check out sensors, everything from ignition coils to mass airflow sensors, all the way to fuel pumps inside the tank. It's a really cool site. You can also ask questions at DelphiAutoparts.com. Of course, that's when I'm not on the air. Again, that's DelphiAutoparts.com. Let's go to Victor in Washington. Victor, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for holding.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby. You were saying that they should oil up the parts before the engine starts, so you don't get that wear that they get without oil. Well, I was wondering, I always kind of wondered about a foot pump that would either pump air to do what you were saying, or that would, like a rotor on a distributor, that would go back and forth, and that pump would hit those parts that you're talking about and give it a pre-oiling.
Well, it's not pre-oiling. It's not that's not the problem. There's a film of oil on all the parts, so it's not about pre-oil. It's the pressure that is not there. And in my car particularly, it has 48 valves for the 8 cylinders. It has double rows of bicycle chains. It has multiple gears. You could take the oil filler cap off and look down the engine, and it's really quite beautiful if you're a techie kind of guy like me. But, Victor, what I was referring to was an accumulator, and an accumulator would not require any pump. Of course, what you're talking about would require the passenger do something, or the driver, and you can't do that. It's got to be automatic. So you can't depend on the owner of a car to do all this, because he's not a race, or she's not a race person, and they're not pilots for airplanes. So you got to make it simpler. And to that end, what you would do, when I say accumulator, can you envision what I mean?
Well, accumulator is like a tank or something that accumulates a volume.
A pressurized volume.
Pressurized volume, right?
And
yeah.
then
That's what I was thinking. If you, well, if the person wasn't cognizant of how to pump it by foot, they would just do normally like the engine would normally run, But if someone that wanted to take care of their car, and had a good leg, he just, do that,
Well, the problem with that is you don't want to pump air. It's not air you're pumping.
Well, you could pump. You could have a reservoir. Well, you could like a rod on a distributor that turns.
Okay,
you could have that could go back and forth.
Okay, but wait. You're not seeing the picture. I didn't explain it correctly. When the engine is running, you have, let's say it's 50 pounds of pressure. So when the engine is running, it's pushed this air cylinder back. When you turn the key off, there's a solenoid that's normally closed. And the minute you turn the key off, that solenoid blocks that oil. So now you have this charged oil tank that has accumulated pressure. When you turn the key on the next time, you send voltage automatically to this solenoid that opens, and that pressurized oil that was accumulated the last time you drove the car pushes itself into the engine, and it does this automatically. It's really simple to do.
Right. I imagine that would. How much volume of oil and how big a tank would you have to have of compressed air to accomplish that?
Well, I would say the size. I would say a quart and a half. Because you want to. I would say a quart and a half, and so you're simply.
How about a compressed spring?
Well, that's okay. Compressed spring works. That works. I mean,
that way, the oil pressure come up and push the spring back, and then the spring would be held, and then that valve would cut.
Sure. Well, Mercedes-Benz uses an accumulator in the fuel system that has a spring and it has a diaphragm, and so the fuel pressure. This is in the K-Jetronic. The fuel pressure, which is 15, which is 75 pounds. The fuel pressure then pushes back on this accumulator, so that when you crank the car, you've got this. It's already built into the early model, what the Germans call K-Jetronic, and the K is for like C-Jetronic. It's electronic fuel injection. But the K-Jetronic does have a fuel accumulator, so that using that same, except you make it larger, you would use that. So anyway, but that's what I would like to have on my car. It would still require a hose that would hook to the main aorta of the engine, and a solenoid and wires. And therein lies the challenge, because you got to add it, and you got to flexible. You got to mount the tank. If you mounted it on the fender, you'd have to have a flexible hose. Otherwise, you have to mount it on the engine. If you run a steel line, that'd probably be the best way to do it, because then you wouldn't have to worry about future leaks of a hose, because it's hot oil and those sorts of things. Anyway, it's not a bad idea, really. It's just that, and you can buy accumulators. I'm sure they make accumulators for that very same purpose. It's just that the new car manufacturers don't do it because it's extra expense and it's not necessary. But I think
right.
I think it's a plus, because my car has a chain and valve noise when I first crank it in the morning that I don't like.
Yeah, well, they claim that, and I've heard you say that too. I think that's where a lot of your wear comes in, is when you first start the engine, especially if it's been sitting for quite a while.
They claim 40% of the wear comes when you first start an engine. The commercials, starting your engine's a terrible thing to do. Well, yeah, but how are you going to get from point A to point B? Duh.
Yeah, you got to. But that's why I was thinking if there was enough oil pushed in there ahead of time,
sure,
that'd be a big deal, It
would be. It'd be a great accumulator. That's been around for ages. We use that in race cars.
Did you get any more information on chips?
No. Well, yes, but we got a bank full of calls. Let's save that for another day.
All right. Okay. Great.
Okay. Thanks, Victor.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Nice gentleman. Next call is Texas. Daryl, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for holding.
Great. Thank you. Great show. I just found you.
Really? Well, I'm glad you did. Where you live?
It's just outside of Tyler.
Oh, I'll be darned. Yeah. I received a call from a gentleman. Is there like a Bullard, Texas nearby?
Yes, it's just outside of Tyler, too, on the other side of where I live.
Well, I received a call from a gentleman whose son, I think, operates his small engine repair, and it was he called, left word for me about ethanol. And I returned his call, and I didn't get an answer. So a week later, I tried it again. But I didn't throw it away, and sure enough, I got him, and we had a 30-minute conversation off air about small engines and ethanol and air fuel ratios and what have you. It turned out this man's been a mechanic all his life, and so he and I really hit it off, and it was a fun event. And I didn't know where Bullard was. He said it was about 90 miles, near Dallas. But anyway, what can I do for you?
I have a problem. I bought a 2009 Honda Accord for my son.
Okay.
It's a top-of-the-line model. It's a beautiful car. They've obviously taken care of it. It's been run with synthetic oils.
Okay.
Its whole life was what they told me, and I believe it. And just recently, we've had the car for now probably 800 miles.
Right.
And just recently, when you crank it cold, and not every cold crank, occasionally when you crank it cold, it sounds like a playing card on a bicycle spoke, something like that. A little more metallic than that, but about the same rate.
How many miles on the vehicle?
Probably 140 now.
Well, at 105,000, it should have had a timing belt replaced. You would not know, Daryl, if it had been replaced, unless
I could find out.
Unless the technician. Well, see, when we replace the timing belt on a Honda, there's a sticker that comes with all timing belt, well, at least with the kits. And so we will put the mileage and the date, and my guys will sign their name as well, but we'll put the mileage and the date of when the timing belt was replaced. So my concern for you, and in the interest of time, when and if you have to replace that belt, and if it hasn't been done, you should do it now. I mean, that's a no-brainer. And if that engine is equipped with a belt, not all engines are equipped with belts. Some have chains. How many miles on your 09 Honda? 140, you said. Well, I would say replace the belt, and I would say that you stay right there, and I'm going to come back to you, Daryl, and Paul, and Larry, and Mark. I want to get every one of you on the air when I come back. Today's new product spotlight is on Denso's Iridium TT spark plugs. Your vehicle's spark plugs deliver the electric current necessary to ignite the fuel that runs your engine. But not all spark plugs are the same. Denso is proud to introduce the Iridium TT spark plug. The Iridium TT's two tips, the twin tip, allow the spark plug to create the largest spark concentration and explosion for more power, superior fuel economy, and fewer emissions. And fewer emissions help protect our environment, while fewer visits to the pump save you money. Denso's Iridium TT spark plug is designed to last beyond 100,000 miles. The patented formula features the highest iridium concentration of any spark plug and outperforms in the most severe engine temperatures, resisting oxidation and voltage wear. Denso has the tradition of innovation. Using their OE expertise, Denso products are manufactured to give you the right part and the right fit the first time, every time. Learn more about Denso's Iridium TT spark plugs at densott.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
You can call them used. You can call them previously driven. You can call them anything you want. The point is somebody, maybe even a dozen somebodies, owned the car before you did. And before you put down your hard-earned dollars for the car, you deserve to know exactly where it's been. Get a vehicle history report from Carfax.com. They'll give you the real history of any used car. Visit CARFAX.com or ask your dealer for a Carfax report. Don't buy a used car without Carfax.
I, Dennis Walker, pledge allegiance to the roof. I know it'll be clean. I know it will be comfortable. And I know that if the phone rings when I'm in the shower, I can just let it ring. For I have voicemail. Red Roof Inn, one room, under budget, with free cable and local calls for all.
98% of Red Roof guests are so satisfied with their visit, they plan to come back. Now that's not just loyalty, that's allegiance. For reservations, call 800-RED-ROOF.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. We're talking with Daryl in Texas. So, Daryl, let me ask you a question. At the beginning of the break there, we were talking about your 140,000-mile Honda. If your vehicle has a timing belt, and that's easy enough to determine, you need to replace that belt, but not just the belt, because the belt has pulleys, and in some cases, the belt, one of the pulleys that the belt uses for its securement is the water pump. So as the belt turns, the water pump turns as well. So whenever the case fits, a service shop, if you were to call around different service shops and say, what do you charge me to put a belt on my car, a timing belt? You have to really be careful, because someone could quote you a belt, and let's just say the belt was $75. I don't know what they are, but let's just say $75, $100 for the belt itself, or $50 for the belt itself. And then you call another shop and they say, well, that kit's going to run you $286. You say, well, excuse me, but that kit includes the tensioner, it includes the pulleys, and includes the water pump, because it's like open hood surgery. You're down in that front part of the engine, which is hard to get to, and while you're there are a lot of things associated with the turning parts of that particular belt. So I would just educate you and warn you that don't let price drive that replacement. You want someone who is familiar with the Honda product to replace that belt, because number one, that belt has to be set for the right tension. And one more thing, Daryl, if you have the belt replaced, I'm not saying that's what your noise is, but if you do have the belt replaced and you hear this whirring noise afterwards, and this, folks, this is true for anyone that's tuned in. If you hear a whirring noise that was not there before because the belt's replaced, and somebody tells you, oh, it'll just wear in, that is incorrect. A properly installed timing belt makes zero noise. You cannot hear it. Now, having said all that, Daryl, in closing, what I recommend that you do is to remove the drive belts for the AC and the water pump, the power steering, the other belts that turn something in the engine, and then crank it up in the morning. And if the noise is still there, you'll know it's coming from either behind the timing belt cover or from within the engine. You got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hey, I'm glad you called. Thanks so much for calling, and thanks for tuning in to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. We're here every Saturday from 9 to 11 Central Time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Take a call from South Dakota. Mark, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hello, Bobby.
Hi, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I listen to your program all the time. Great show. Thank you very much.
I appreciate you. I appreciate your kind words.
I have a quick question. It concerns a manual transmission, and I was listening to a TV program one morning, and I was wandering in the kitchen, and my mind got distracted, and I heard them talking about automobile myths. And I thought I caught them saying something like, don't take your car out of gear to let it coast, like up to a light. If you see a light is red 2 or 3 blocks away or something, and you take it out of gear. I've been doing that for a long time. Is that a bad thing to do? It's just to
Well,
you just see the lights red, and I live in a town where we don't have a lot of traffic like New York City and that, so there's lots of spaces between cars.
I do the opposite. I use I have a standard transmission car. I drive I have a 2001 Viper that I bought new. It only has 31,000 miles. I don't drive it often now, but I use the transmission to gear the car down. And use the engine to downspeed the vehicle to save the brakes. But I really do it more because it's fun to do than I do to save the brakes. I mean, I can justify that, but in all candor and honesty, I just like to downshift and zip it into gear.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's the fun of the manual transmission.
It is the fun of a manual transmission. You're not going to hurt anything except that you will wear the brakes more by coasting and using the brakes totally to stop the engine or stop the car than you would if you were to downshift and use the. Now, if you downshift, you must double clutch because you don't want to slide it into gear and wear the clutch. You have to mesh the lower gear with the speed of the car. You understand where I'm going there, right?
Yes. I do.
Okay. All right. So you're not hurting anything except you're wearing the brakes sooner than you would later. And the answer to that is how soon? How much sooner? I don't know. Who knows? I mean,
Who knows? Yeah.
It's a nit. So you're not damaging anything, except you're saving some gas. Because the quicker you can get the engine to idle, it burns less fuel at idle than it does at 1,000 or 2,000 or 1,500 RPM.
Yeah. Well, I have a Challenger. I have a Dodge Challenger with the 6-speed Tremec transmission in it.
Wow.
So when you buy a car like that, or a Viper, you really don't think about, at least I don't think about gas mileage, because that wasn't the point when you bought the car. You bought the car for enjoyment.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm with you. What color is your Challenger?
My Challenger is called Granite Crystal Metallic. It's sort of a gray with a lot of metallic in it, and it's got the red stripe down the side of it where they had that. It's a Challenger Classic with the red stripes down the side, like the 1970 or 71 Challengers had.
A friend of mine bought a Hellcat, the same color. And he lives in Boca, I think, in South Florida. And he sent me pictures of the car, and it was just, he talks about the 707 horsepower.
Oh, it's amazing.
Oh,
it's amazing.
It is amazing. You give someone your car, and you give them the valet key, and which detunes the car. It's just amazing. They don't make cars the way they used to, Mark. They make them a heck of a lot better than they did. Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for your call. Take care.
Thank you, Bobby.
You're welcome, sir. Take a call from Larry, and then I see that Paul and Jerry, we're going to get everyone on the air. Larry, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
I have a 1995 F-150 Ford 302, 5.0 liter.
Okay.
That I have got a kind of a little shutter skip, and it may go 200, 300, 400 miles before it'll do it. I have went all through the ignition from computer on down, new distributor, wires, plugs, you name it, knock sensor, the whole works.
Okay, well, tell me now, how does it idle? Does it always idle well, or is idle affected as well as this whenever this skip comes in?
Occasionally, it will do it like when I crank it up. If it's cold, but that's very, 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 very seldom it'll do that when I just crank it up. It'll have a little bit of.
And at what speed and what load? I mean, we're in the car together. It's automatic transmission, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And you're going 40 miles an hour. I mean, is it in the high gear yet, or is it still in second gear or third gear, or are you cruising at 50, 55, and you feel this judder?
Most of the time, it's in that, I'd say 30 to 45 miles, in that speed range. Probably maybe more, like 40, maybe 50, but usually it's in that area right in there.
I don't know where this comes from. What does from ages and years of working on cars and solving car problems. I'm torn in two directions here, so I'll share both directions with you. I think you could have a transmission shutter. I think that you could. I think that when the transmission goes into that next gear, it goes, and that's what you're feeling. But it does it at different speeds because the transmission shifts into the next gear depending on the throttle position and the load of the car. So it's never the same unless you're on a fixed track, and we don't drive on fixed tracks. Right. So if the transmission fluid had not been serviced, if a transmission hasn't been serviced in 50,000 miles, I would say service the automatic transmission, and I would say use a synthetic fluid for the automatic transmission and do nothing but that and see what that does for you. But I would only do that after I tested the fluid. How long has it been since the transmission been serviced?
Not that long. I had all that done, and I had a transmission guy to drive it and everything, and he says there's not anything wrong with my transmission, but it's probably 40,000 miles ago. I don't think it's 50. It's inside of 50. I had all the fluid pumped out of it and everything, and new fluid put in it.
Right. Well, you could still smooth out the transmission by going to synthetic. But let's just say that it's not a transmission. You could well have an EGR valve that is overactive on a Ford product, specifically that 302. And that EGR valve would cause that engine to misfire, and you could have dirty injectors, or you could have dirt on the back of the intake valve. I mean, that's just a common problem. And so I would, if I were you, have you ever taken a technician for a ride, and would the car act up?
Can't make it act up. That's the weird thing about it. I left it with a real good mechanic. And he drove it home, and just kept it for a while, and he couldn't make it skip. He kept putting it in his shop and let it idle. He said, "I can't make this truck skip." It's just one of those things like that, and we can't make it skip when it's in the garage.
I hear you. Well, just continue to monitor it, and don't spend any money chasing rabbits, and don't throw parts at it. Just continue to drive it. You can use some fuel system cleaner. And without replacing parts until it actually gets worse. What you want to notice is what gear it's in when it shifts. And it may be exactly what I'm thinking. It may be that transmission when it shudders. Maybe the clutch in the transmission, not bad. It's just that it's making that shuddering feel. So pay attention to that, okay?
One thing that when it skips.
Mm-hmm.
All I got to do to correct it or to stop it from skipping is just pull over, cut it off, and crank it back up, and it's fine. I might drive it 300, 400, 500 miles and not skip again. All I got to do is just cut the engine off and crank it back up, and we're good to go.
Well,
there's
a lot of things that happen when you do that, though. You reboot and the engine shuts down, and a lot of things that happen, but it still takes a while for whatever is causing the problem to build up. So a good induction system clean, a good injector clean, and a fuel system cleaner can't hurt.
Right.
Hey, I wish I had a silver bullet, but I really don't. And
it's been one of them things, and I've had some good mechanics, try to find it, and we just striking out cold.
Well, you check back with me on another program. We'll talk again when I have more time. Okay.
Okay, appreciate it.
I appreciate you, Larry. Let's go to Paul, and then I'm going to Jerry. Paul, quickly, how can I help you? Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning, Bobby.
Good morning, sir.
I've got a 1996 Toyota Previa van, and the ECU sensor is, according to a local mechanic, said it was out. What it was doing was, I get cold air conditioning, but the car didn't have any power. You accelerate, and it'd go 10 miles an hour, maybe 15, 20. Eventually, you'd get to 50.
Right.
So he said, well, the sensor's bad. You got to get a new one. So I got an aftermarket one, had it sent to me, and put it in, and the opposite happened. I had tremendous power as normal, and the air conditioning wouldn't blow cold.
Well,
so I went back to the original part and sent it off to get rebuilt.
Right.
It's come back, and I have no power, but I have air conditioning.
Well, I think that what needs to be done here is that you may have to reprogram that vehicle. It's a 96 model Previa, and that you may have to reprogram that system. In order to do that, a technician is going to have to check online with your automobile hooked up to his or her scan tool and see if there are any TSBs or updates for the programming. It may be sounds like a programming issue to me. And again, due to time constraints, I don't have time to go through it in detail. Would you call me back next week, perhaps a little earlier?
Sure can.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
But that's a good place to start. I appreciate it, Bobby.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you
is
very
a good place
much.
to start. Yeah. folks, I want to share this with you, and then I'm going to take Jerry's quick call. I want to give you an update on my Jag. I mentioned it earlier. It has twin K&N air filters, and the vehicle has 30,000 miles. When the vehicle had 6,000 miles, I put the K&N filters on. I got 26.7 miles per gallon. I made 5 trips from Pensacola to Tallahassee, and it's kind of a boring drive, and checking MPG was really easy to do. So 20,000 miles later, and I don't know if you've ever noticed that performance and MPG seem to fall off as your car gets more miles. Well, I'm really cognizant of that. And so not years later, but a couple of years later, with 28,000 miles, the MPG fell off, and I had to make another trip to Atlanta. And during that trip, I exercised that engine. And I really did. I used the paddle shifters and did a lot of torquey things on the vehicle. And the bottom line is, on the way back, the MPG was 26.7 as it always was. So if you've got, and you run, for me, the K&N air filters, and you keep the engine with synthetic oils, and you keep the tire pressure up, you should get the same MPG at 30,000 miles that you were getting at 6,000 miles, and that's my K&N difference and how that works for me. Okay, Jerry, very quickly, Jerry, your question for me.
Yes, sir. I don't know how long they've started doing it, but most of your cars now have the tire pressure warning indicator in the dash.
Right.
For a vehicle that doesn't have that, is there any way that can be added? Is there any kind of an add-on? Or
you can. It's easier than put a TPS system in it. You can buy tire valve pressure caps that when you put the tire pressure cap on, they turn green. You set the pressure all where you want it. You screw the cap on, and the cap opens the valve stem and turns green, and you can look at the very valve stem, and it will turn red if it starts to leak pressure because there's a pressure sensor in the cap, and you should be able to go online and find those pressure sensor aftermarket parts that screw onto the cap. That's the simplest way for you and least expensive. It's something you can do yourself. And folks, do yourself a favor. Tune in next week to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Today's new product spotlight is on Cardone Ultra Premium Calipers. Over 70% of all vehicles released since 2002 feature premium wheels. While stylish, these premium wheels increase brake caliper visibility, and rusty calipers detract from the premium look. Cardone Ultra Premium Calipers feature an exclusive weatherproof silver coating that protects against rust and corrosion. In a side-by-side comparison, set in a humidity chamber simulating a year of average driving, competitors' calipers developed significant rust after 100 hours, but Cardone Ultra Premium calipers still look new. Installation's easy, and Cardone Ultra Premium calipers are packaged with all necessary hardware. Now, through November 30, every Cardone Ultra Premium caliper you purchase gives you a chance to win a Ford Mustang GT, and monthly winners will also be chosen to win a $250 Visa gift card. Register and report each product code at CardoneUltra.com. That's CardoneUltra.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P-Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, loaded, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grown, now you're here. Your aroma helps me wake up.